So I guess it can't sound any other way than sound as if this is a finding that if someone is willing to set up a meeting, invite people, and talk about this, then they must have found something. No. This isn't a finding. The only finding, you could say, is that there's nothing to find. Of course, that's not a finding. You don't even get to find that there's nothing to find, because of course you can't find nothing. So all the speakers I ever enjoyed listening to myself all emphasized that there was nothing, always. The ones that I really resonated with. And maybe you're the same, otherwise you probably wouldn't come to this. And what they really emphasized was there was nothing on offer. Literally. The offering, the gift, the present is nothing. Which is everything. And so it's not, so it isn't something. Now, when we speak of nothing, if I speak of emptiness, which I do, and I speak of nothing, which I seem to quite a lot, they can only sound like something. And I can only apologize for that, because they aren't something. This isn't something. This is everything and nothing equally, and everything, all the things, all thingness is empty. And outrageously, paradoxically, the emptiness makes the thingness no less. The fullness of things, the beingness, is more apparent in its emptiness. I mean, what nonsense. What wonderful, worthless, pointless nonsense. But that's what this is. This is wonderfully meaningless, pointless, hopeless. Every negative, everything that you don't want. But of course, regardless of whether you want this or not, this is all there is. The unconditional love is that this doesn't recognize your desire for this to be a certain way. This doesn't know you. No one knows you. Nothing knows you. There is no one to be known. The whole illusion is of knowing. And I don't know how or why, but I simply don't doubt that no one knows what's going on at all. knowing what's going on is just the illusion that I lives in, that self lives in. That I do know who I am. I do know where I am. I know my location. I know my place when there is no location. And this is the only place. And if this is the only place, then there is no place. And so this annihilates all ideas, all fantasies of awakening and liberation and enlightenment and anything else you might have fantasized that you could become, that could happen. There isn't anything that could happen. There is only what's happening. Nothing will happen. Nothing has happened. And even saying there's only what's happening is saying far too much, because it sounds as though you might be able to find what's happening. No. There is no you and what's happening. There is no you to find what's happening. There's no one separate from what's happening to find it. What you've called you is what's happening. So the revelation is that there's no revelation at all. Nothing is revealed. The realization is that nothing is realized. I can't pretend it was what I was looking for. Definitely not. But then this can never be what you're looking for, because what you're looking for has to be something else. Otherwise you wouldn't be looking for it, would you? You can't be looking for this. You'll already be found. Ordinary beyond ordinary. Outrageously. Outrageously. Outrageously known without any knowing. Outrageously ordinary, mundane, so obvious. It's no wonder that I spent years saying, well, this can't be it. Every time I heard a speaker say, this is it, of course, I just said, well, it might be for you, but it certainly isn't for me. Well, that is it. But of course, feeling that this isn't it is equally it. But there is no it. I don't like to say anything about it really. And yet I can speak all day, waffling on aimlessly, pointlessly, pointing in all directions. If you still are under the illusion that you could hear a pointer and it would point you straight to this, again, there's nothing more illusory than that. There is no pointing towards or away from this. You could point in all directions or no direction, and you still wouldn't be pointing at this. And so it's still popular to identify exactly what this is and name it. And you could say that's what I do because I say the word this, as though that's naming what we're speaking of, everything and nothing. But there is no this. There's only this. And you can say, I could say very honestly that it's nothing special. But of course, it's outrageously, extraordinarily special in that how much special, more special could there be than everything? It's not, I mean, it's the death of specialness, because specialness is there are some things that are higher or lower than other things, but there aren't actually any things. And so this absolute equality again is very ordinary to an extraordinary extent, the ordinariness. And the illusion is that this has been before, that there is a before. There's no before. This is always the first. Absolutely. This has never been before. And this is always the last, the end. This is the completion. This is done. This is the end. Never to be repeated. Never again. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. If you'd like to ask anything or you want to share anything, then by all means, put your hand up or write a question in the chat.
I was thinking what you were saying about you can't point at this. I was thinking you can't point at this because the pointing is this.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever this is.
Well, you could say there's only, yeah. Yeah, the pointing's pointless. You can't point towards or away from, no. That's why, you know, that would, if yeah, all the pointing is there'd just be some some string of words that resonate and you like the sound of, and they'll go, oh, they're close, they're close to the truth. They're not.
Nearly got it.
You know, don't you think isn't it the most wonderful news that no one's ever got this? Don't you love that? That's what I love most. I don't doubt that there's no one. I mean, I don't care who your spiritual heroes or your philosophical heroes or I don't care who they are. I don't doubt at all that they knew no more than you or me or any other idiot. Because this isn't this is laughing in the face of intelligence and understanding and knowledge. It's a mockery. And I guess, and it's not for everyone. Most people don't like mockery. Most selves just want to know. Not knowing is not very attractive to many human beings, because knowledge is power, and what I want is power and security. Less knowledge, less power, less security, not attractive. So I think the only ones, you lot, who seem attracted to this have a perverse attraction to not knowing. Somehow there's a intuitive sense that not knowing is a lot better than knowing, which no doubt it is, because of course knowledge is either right and wrong. Not knowing is never right or wrong. It's hugely more liberating, not knowing. That's the liberation. Freedom from knowing, as Jiddu Krishnamurti often was heard to say. And then knowledge is also, in not knowing, knowledge is liberated to be what it is, relatively interesting, relatively worthwhile, relatively. Of the absolute, knowledge is worthless. Natalie.
Hi.
Lovely to see you.
You too. I don't know. Normally I'm so happy and laughing. I don't know what's going on today, but I don't know, that recognition of the emptiness. It's like it didn't take anything away, but it took everything away.
Yeah.
And then it's like there's nothing left of me, but yet, you know, still this.
Yeah.
And so it just loses momentum.
Yeah.
Sometimes, you know, usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get people saying stuff like, get it together, you're losing it. And I'm like, well, what am I losing? I don't know. You know, it's just empty. But yeah, you go ahead and say something about that.
No. Well, no, thanks for sharing that, because yeah, you I mean, people are not wrong. If they look at you and they have a sense of you're losing it, well, maybe they are picking up on that. I mean, that's maybe not what they mean, but
maybe. Right.
but I mean, I'd be very surprised if even if self becomes less solid and less insistent and less concrete, even if there's you could say a thinning or a lessening of the energy of me, then there's almost certain to be less motivation, because most motivation is to keep me going, to keep me together. So, I mean, I'd be surprised if most people don't. If there's less of the sense of me, then there'll be less effort to keep it all together.
Definitely.
Yeah. And that can feel threatening to what there is of me, and what there is left of me can feel very threatened by that. And all the other me's who know you, they'll go, well, you're not who I thought you were, or, you know, you're not behaving how you've changed.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I remember that well. This can be very disconcerting for those around you.
Right. Yeah. And if it's not available, then it's not available. You know what I mean? Like that motivation sometimes seems you can't muster it.
No, you can't summon it up. No.
No, I know.
No. I mean, that's the whole illusion of self, is that I'm in control of motivation. I mean, self knows it's not.
Yeah.
Actually. Self pretty much knows it's not. But
right.
But if that energy of self isn't available, then no, you can't. I'll never forget when I stopped work, when I stopped teaching, and of course my wife made me go to the doctors because of course I'm not well, and the doctor says, well, why can't, you know, why are you not, what's stopping you going into work? I said I can't go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, what do you mean you can't go? I mean, no, I can't go. And she said, do you mean you're afraid? I went, no. Do you mean there's too much anxiety? No, I don't mean that. I mean I can't go.
Right. Yeah. Similar conversation the other day.
Yeah.
I
meant it. And do you know,
I know.
It was so concrete that, so I did go. After going to the doctor, I went, I got to the school gate. I couldn't drive my car through the gate. It's like my car wouldn't go through the gate. I turned in the gate and went home. And that was my last attempt. I don't know. I'm not making any big deal of that. I'm just saying, it can just be that, no, I can't. That can't happen.
It's right.
It's not happening.
You can't do what you can't do. It's just not happening.
It's not happening. No.
Thank you, Tim.
I know. And you can't do what you can't do, Natalie.
I know. No. It's impossible.
Yeah. And so the whole illusion and self, I mean, when that happens for self, that can feel so dreadfully threatening, you know, because I've lost all control. I've lost all ability to even do the most basic things. I mean, so fucking what is the answer, really? I mean, everyone else won't agree with you, but that's the truth.
That's what I love.
It's just
when
that
you
others,
say that.
That's all. I mean, I will say, even 7 years on from that day, or 8 years, whatever it is, I can't remember, something like that. Even now, I mean, people look at me odd that I'm not getting up every morning at 7 a.m. and getting ready and going to work. Why am I not doing that? Weirdo.
I can't. Weirdo. Yeah. That's why I like this meeting. There's a bunch of weirdos here.
Oh, isn't it? This is the final resting place. This is the, you know, this is like the end of the road for weirdos and losers.
Definitely.
I like to think of you all as losers.
Oh,
well.
definitely. Yes. We're the biggest losers.
Yeah, and if you don't think of yourself as a loser, yeah, then of course you've not lost enough. I'm joking, but
Exactly.
no, I'm joking, and yet there's a hint of a truth in there somewhere. No, because we are talking about, of course, if everyone's a loser, the truth is we're the ones who might be aware of we're in the losers party, whereas everyone else is still striving to be a winner. That's it.
Yeah.
But there aren't any winners, are there? I mean, isn't it? How obvious does it have to be that nobody wins at life? Nobody wins. You're not getting out of here alive. This is
I
terminal.
love that saying.
This is terminal. This
I
being
really
alive.
laugh.
I love it. I love it when people say, "Oh, have you heard? Have you heard so and so?" No, I haven't. What? They're dying. I went, and who the fuck's not dying? I love it. Just because a doctor has given you a diagnosis, suddenly you're dying, whereas before, moments before, you weren't. You were living, but then you're dying.
You were living.
Yeah, you were living until someone told you you were dying, and then you're dying.
Yeah.
Funny, really.
Yeah. And then you assume that person's right. It's funny. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Assumptions. You said that sometime. Assumptions. We live on assumptions, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
That's all we can do, and that's all there is.
Yeah.
Until there isn't. Oh God. Oh, thanks, Tim.
Oh, thanks, Natalie.
Appreciate
it. Lovely weirdos. Thing is, of course, we think we're normal. I mean, that's how weird we are. In the, you know, non-duality. Oh yeah, we're the only normal ones. But all the poor wretches who live in duality. I mean, how funny is that? That amuses me. Of course, there aren't any normal. There's nothing more divisive than that word, really, isn't it? It's just such an awful word. Because all normal means is like me. That's what everyone means when they say normal. Oh yeah, she's quite normal. Like you then, weirdo. My sister-in-law came out with a classic she the other day. She said, do you know, I'm the most normal person I know. Isn't that brilliant? There you go. That sums up self. You hear it all the time. Well, how on earth could she behave like that or say those things? I could never say that. How could they do that? I could never do that. No, do you know there are human beings who aren't just exactly the same as you? Isn't that incredible? So there's something about this that makes, you know, that annihilates normality. Abnormal becomes the new normal, you could say. really not abnormal, the uniqueness of each human being is more pronounced when they're not themselves. When you don't see other human beings as another self, their uniqueness is more obvious.
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Nita.
Yeah, here is I'm going from I have to solve a problem, and when I'm in these meetings, there is no problem at all, nothing to solve. Yeah. Can you say something more about that?
So say that again. So sometimes you feel there is a problem and then there's no problem, so there's nothing to solve.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just however it is, Anita. So, I mean, sometimes there's a sense that it's a problem, and so there's trying to solve it, and sometimes it goes, oh, it might seem like a problem, but it doesn't even feel like a problem, so there's no attempt, and one's not better or worse than the other.
The one is then I'm very emotional, and
Yeah,
in the other there's nothing.
that's
So
very
that's the
true.
difference. Yeah.
Of course, yeah. Well, yeah, but again, I mean, you can't. I don't want you to think that there isn't emotion here, or the sense of things aren't how I would like them to be. I mean, it's just so absolutely, obviously not ordinarily human to have an emotional reaction to things not being how you would like them to be. And that's nothing to do with you. I just think it's, so this doesn't have anything to say about problems, seeming problems. Seeming problems are sometimes seen to be a real problem, and then there's probably, almost certainly, an emotional reaction to that, because human emotions seem to be trying to help, don't they? Solve a problem. So, for example, anger is a human reactive emotion to feeling threatened. I mean, it's an attempt to save the human being, because if I'm angry, I'm going to be better at fighting. I'm going to defend myself because I feel threatened, as is fear. And it's just all natural. I mean, it's very basic animal. And a lot of it's adrenaline or all the other hormones. I just think, and the nonsense is that self can kid itself that it's in control of the hormone balance that a body creates. I don't think so. That's the whole illusion of the power of self, or self-control and self-management. Human beings just react naturally. I don't know if that's an answer or not, Anita.
Yes.
I just think, really, when there's a situation that I would rather be another way, whether it's seen as a problem or not, I don't have any say over that. That's just how it appears to be. So there can be an attempt to try and solve the problem and look for answers, or it can feel that it's not really a problem and so nothing is done. And who is to say that one is preferable over the other? Again, it's all illusory, all of that.
Yeah.
Because we don't know whether doing nothing or doing something will be better or not. We don't know that. No one knows it. You will get lots of people tell you they do know, but they don't. Because how often has doing nothing been seemingly in the story, has been quite the best thing to do. But again, that's only in the story. I mean, absolutely, there are no problems, but relatively, of course, there are.
Sophie has a hand up.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Anita. Hi, Sophie.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I was just, while you were speaking, I just got curious about something you said about like wanting or wishing things, sometimes things to be different than what they are. I just wonder like how that works, how that mechanism works, like who would want still things to be different sometimes, or you know what I mean? Like what would make that? It's like because it sounds like this message also say like things as they are, or this there is just this. So maybe I was thinking like, okay, so there's nothing else to, yeah. Of course, I mean, we don't want like war to be there or like, you know, suffering to be there. I understand that, but doesn't that disappear in a way? Or
No.
No, it doesn't.
No. Well, it could. I'm not saying no, it doesn't. But why would it?
I don't know. I just got curious.
No, because no, I think there's a real misconception around this, and maybe some speakers do suggest that without me, then there wouldn't be any desire for things to be other than they are.
Right.
No, of course not. I don't think anything changes because none of it was mine anyway. So the desire for life to be, because this, I'm not speaking about as acceptance or surrender or any of those nice, lovely spiritual ideas. There can be just as much resistance without me as there is with me. It's not me doing the resistance.
That's interesting.
Me's never done anything.
Yeah.
Sophie, it's just what Sophie likes. Sophie's self has said that it's me who likes those things. Well, it's not. It's the human being known as Sophie who likes what it likes. That's all. That's all I'm ever speaking of. So I'm not talking about any change to the character, to the preferences, to the conditioning, all the stories that make up what each self has called itself are exactly as they are. The human being is exactly as the human being is. It's like saying, I mean, we wouldn't ever think a dog with or without a self would be a different dog. And yet we have this notion that a human being with or without a self would be a very different human being. No, that's not what I'm suggesting at all. The suggestion here is there is no self. So of course, when it's obvious that there's no self, then nothing has been lost. So what would change?
I don't know.
Nor me.
So that was my assumption, like if there is no me, there wouldn't be like any more like I wish this to happen, or I mean just in like
Yeah. And I think that's a common assumption.
yeah.
Well,
It's a misunderstanding, yeah.
maybe it's more than an assumption, it's a hope, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say there's lots of hope that, well, if I go, then of course there wouldn't be. I mean, it's quite a lovely Buddhist idea, isn't it? That, you know,
Yeah.
so there won't be any attachment, there won't be any desires. Oh, fuck off. I can't stand that spiritual shit. I can't. This is without me, there's more humanness, not less. And what are humans? They're sensory, sensational, emotional, desirous beings. That's what we are. Pack animals. Like going off on our own, love coming back to the pack and having a roll around with some other dogs.
But I guess a dog wouldn't think like, I wouldn't want that to happen, or isn't it?
I'm guessing they don't. We don't know that either. No, I guess they don't. But what I really want to, I really feel I really want to emphasize that this isn't freedom from desire. No, no, no. And by desire, I mean, they could desire in all shapes and forms. I mean, just, and most basic one that you said, that oh, I wish it was different than it is. I mean, wishing that it was different than it is what is, if that's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, the whole notion that wishing or having a desire for this to be different than it is, that's somehow wrong. That's, you know, and that will be put right without me, because it's me that does that. No, you've never done anything.
But maybe I was guessing like if there is no me, who would do that? Who would like desire it to be different? Maybe that's
Well,
what
that's the whole thing.
curiosity.
Well, yeah. So me
Because-
says that has to be, well, it has to be me, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's because I know it's me who does it. So of course it's you that does it. Well, it's not. Human beings are just doing what they do, thinking what they think, feeling what they feel, being as they are. That's what you are, Sophie. You are being Sophie, but it's not you who's doing that. There's no one being Sophie. There's just Sophie. And there isn't even Sophie. I mean, that's who the hell's Sophie?
I have no idea.
No. And the thing is, there's no separation between what Sophie's called Sophie and everything else. So Sophie said there's Sophie apart from everything else, and then there's, and I'm, you know, that sense of what you've called Sophie, that's all of it.
Yeah. So the desire would come out of nowhere, just like that.
Everything comes out of nowhere.
Right.
In fact, that's really saying too much. It doesn't come out of nowhere. It is nowhere.
It is, yeah.
This doesn't come out of anything else. This is everything.
Yeah.
This isn't coming from somewhere and going, and this doesn't appear and disappear. It doesn't, does it? I mean, really, this doesn't appear and disappear, does it?
No.
No, it doesn't.
And I can't
So
control it either. So.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you're just lost. You can't. You won't be able to find. I mean, I talked about beginning and ending. That there is no beginning and ending. You won't find where this begins, and this is all there is. And you won't find an ending.
No.
No.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you.
Thanks, Sophie. I would say the liberation is for all the things that you've blamed yourself for, really. You know, the things that you blamed yourself for that you hope to get rid of still, even though you come into non-duality meetings, there's still the remnant of self-improvement, and you just think, oh yeah, I could still be better. No, don't pretend you haven't still got a bit of that going on. And this is liberation for those things that you still desire to get rid of. Anger, sorrow, grief, loss, pain, what you've called suffering, what you've called my suffering. It's not your suffering. Look how arrogant self is. My joy, my pain, claiming everything. None of it's yours. There's no yours from everything else. Really, when there's sorrow, the trees are crying just as much as you are. When there's joy, the grass is laughing. you know? You may have had a sense of that sometimes, but really that is how it is. When there's joy, there's just joy. When there's sorrow, there's just sorrow. And the sorrow isn't inside, it's everywhere. You can't find, when there's sorrow, when there's grief, you will not be able to find, you won't be able to look at something beautiful and find beauty in it. That too will be sorrow. It's so whole. This is completely whole. There isn't anything outside. And the whole illusion is that I'm the one inside who's feeling it, and there is outside. There is no outside.
So
Not
this
at
is
all.
it's interesting what you were saying, like if there is sorrow, everything is sorrow, because I thought that would be the me. That's what I was thinking, like if I'm like, if there is sorrow and sadness and like everything around me, like everything would be like sadness. I thought that this would be the me. That's what I was thinking all the time.
You thought that would be you thinking of feeling like that?
Like that the me would project itself like on the trees and on everything around me. I was thinking,
No, there's no one doing any projecting. I mean, the whole notion is that I'm projecting. I mean, the trees aren't being projected. The trees are no more outside than you are. You know, and the feeling is no more inside than the trees are. That's it. Really, non-duality, that's really all it means. I don't think it means anything else. I mean, I talk about other stuff, but really that's it. The whole notion that there is inside where I am and there's outside where everything else is. It's just not how it is. And I mean, the revelation of it is really, as I said quite a few times today already, there's no revelation because this is already known. Without any knowing of it, you don't need it's not, this isn't anything new, so it's like a revelation that was already like a homecoming, and you're in, oh yeah, it's so familiar that it's already recognized, so there's no new recognition in it. It's quite a disappointment, really, you know, when you're hoping for something very grand. I really should spice it up a bit and make it sound more spectacular. But of course, there can't be more spectacular than all there is. So, I mean, I do at least say that. Well, there's just no possibility of anything more spectacular. So you stop looking. I mean, that's the end of the search. If there isn't anything else, that's all. What are you going to find? You'll have to make do with everything there is and isn't. It's not a bad deal. I mean, as deals go, it's pretty good. You're going to have to make do with everything that is possible. It's not bad, is it? You know, this being human, it's not as bad as it's made out to be. It's pretty good. I mean, it's pretty good even when it's shit. Because you wouldn't know anything if it was great all the time. As you know, that's the whole why notions of heaven and nirvana are so. How would on earth would you recognize it was bliss if there was no sorrow?
I just want to say how funny and interesting it is that the mind wants to understand. What a strange habit. It wants to understand.
Yeah,
It's so weird.
but yeah, and again, I just think it's completely natural because this, because that, I mean, that is our that is what human beings have over all of the rest of nature, is this ability to understand, and then through understanding seemingly to manipulate the environment. So I guess it's survival, understanding.
Yeah, but when it comes to trying to understand the nature of things, I mean, how can you understand what is a stone or what is a tree or what is all this? It's
I know what you mean. Yeah. So yeah, that's a different understanding than scientific. Scientific is always dissection, is always vivisection, really. Cut things up and see how the components fit together. Now that kind of that makes sense, but the nature, the fundamental nature. But of course there is this desire for truth, isn't there? You know? This
but it's not an understanding, right?
No.
When the desire to understand what, it just seems to get in the way. Something seems to be lost. I'm not, maybe it's the wrong word that I'm using, but
I think it's
I just never thought that not trying to understand was the right manner to look at the universe. Something like that.
Well, it is amazing how many great minds at the end of their life come to the conclusion that all of their understanding has been for nothing. That's very common. Not everyone, but that's very common. That actually, for all the knowledge and understanding of a lifetime of scientific investigation or philosophical investigation, the conclusion is that it's more of a mystery, not less. Yeah, just this simple mystery.
As a matter of fact, the desire to understand is losing the mystery.
Absolutely.
To understand the nature, I mean, the essence of what we are. The moment we want to understand, the mystery disappears.
That's very true.
And down there, deep inside, what we want is the mystery. And by trying to understand it, we spoil it.
Yeah, I mean, it can seem, of course, it doesn't spoil it. Nothing spoils it.
Yeah. I don't know, but I'm looking at myself and I noticed that I have been trailing a wrong path. I spent so much time trying to understand them.
Yes.
It's, for me, maybe it's my specific kind of character.
Yeah.
I wanted to understand to make some sense, but it's absolutely, there is nothing that makes sense. There is nothing for the mind here.
No.
The mind can play good chess, can solve mathematics, can make a coffee, but when it comes to this and trying to solve some kind of a riddle, trying to understand the nature of what is appearing, no.
Oh, thanks, Giovanni. That was lovely.
Nice to be here too. Thank
you.
Nice
to see you. Nice to see you. Yeah. No, the reason, I mean, I don't use the word mystery, but in one sense, I could use it, and in another sense, as Giovanni says, there's nothing mysterious. The mystery does die. Because a mystery is a puzzle that through inquiry and through investigation and understanding, you could unravel the mystery. No, there is no mystery. It's kind of like the same, as I said, with other things. If there's only mystery, then it's not mysterious. It's the most ordinary, the most direct, obvious mystery that's not mysterious at all. Because it's only mysterious if it's otherworldly, and there isn't otherworldly. This is very direct, and
Either the whole thing is a mystery, with no exceptions, or there is no mystery at all.
exactly.
You cannot take a part from it and say, oh,
No.
that's very mysterious, and
No.
the rest is not mysterious. That wouldn't make sense, right?
No, a mystery usually is for mysterious is supernatural, and of course this is kind of like the annihilation of supernatural as opposed to natural. It's just so obvious that everything is natural, which would include everything that is being called supernatural.
No division.
It's just very, by that I mean that the absolute and the mundane, it's obviously obvious that they're not two. That the absolute is here, ever present, always, as what we call the mundane, the everyday, the ordinary, the most ordinary mystery. Thanks, Giovanni. Nice to see you. I'll just give a quick plug if I don't think any of you are in London, but I'll put this out on YouTube. I'm in London, Hampstead on Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. at Philadelphia Association. If you'd like to come, lovely to see you all again. Thanks for coming. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Darren.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Ted.
you. Thanks a lot.
Thanks. Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you, Tim.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Thanks, Tim. Good to see
Bye-bye.
you. Thanks.